The walkout. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council had witnessed 847 first contact ceremonies. Each followed the same pattern: initial posturing, careful negotiation, eventual capitulation. The newer species always bent. They had to. The galaxy was vast, hostile, and unforgiving to those without powerful allies. Ambassador Chen Wei studied the ornate chamber with the detached interest of someone cataloging a museum. Holographic star maps rotated overhead. Thousands of delegate pods floated in precise formation, arranged by species age and political influence. At the center, the 5 founders, the Zarathi, Koldan, Vremnos, Ashkari, and Pelkair, occupied thrones that predated human-written history. The Unity Accord is not a negotiation, High Arbiter Velshan announced, his translator rendering his chittering speech into flat, emotionless words. It is the framework that has maintained galactic peace for 90,000 cycles. Every species that joins must accept the same terms. Chen glanced at the datapad in her hand. She'd read the accord 17 times during the 3-week journey to the council station. Each reading made her angrier. Cultural integration protocols: all new species must adopt standardized education, media, and historical narratives approved by the Council Ministry of Unity. Economic regulatory framework: all trade, currency, and resource extraction must operate through council-approved guilds and oversight committees. Military command structure: all military forces become auxiliary units under Regional Council Fleet Command within 20 cycles of acceptance. It wasn't an alliance. It was absorption. We understand the terms, Chen said carefully. Her 4-person delegation sat perfectly still behind her, 2 diplomats, 1 military liaison, 1 xenosociologist. They'd rehearsed this moment for months. Then you accept? Velshan leaned forward, mandibles clicking with what the briefing materials had identified as satisfaction. No. The word hung in the chamber's recycled air. Several thousand delegates had gone completely silent. Perhaps translation error, Velshan said slowly. The accord is not optional for species seeking council membership. Without membership, Earth will face sanctions, trade restrictions, and military isolation. Your species is young, technologically primitive by galactic standards, and surrounded by territorial powers who respect only council authority. We understand, Chen repeated. She stood, smoothing her jacket. And our answer remains no. You would doom your species to irrelevance. To potential extinction. A Koldan delegate activated his translator, voice rumbling with genuine confusion. Every species faces this choice. Every species makes the logical decision. Chen turned to face the assembled galaxy. Cameras captured everything here. This moment would be broadcast to millions of worlds. My government instructed me to listen to your offer with respect, she said. We have done so. We have also decided that we would rather face uncertainty alone than certainty as subjects. We came hoping for allies. We found masters looking for servants. She gathered her datapad. Her delegation rose with practiced synchronicity. Earth withdraws its petition for council membership. We will trouble you no further. You cannot simply leave. Velshan's composure cracked. There are procedures, exit negotiations, transition protocols. Those apply to members, Chen interrupted. We were never members. We were applicants. And now we're leaving. The human delegation walked toward the exit. Not hurried. Not dramatic. Just 5 people crossing an enormous chamber with steady, unhurried steps. Sanctions will follow. Velshan called after them. Trade embargoes. Military containment. Chen didn't turn around. Do what you must. So will we. The doors sealed behind them with a soft hiss. In the stunned silence that followed, a minor delegate from a species Chen had never heard of named the Jarek whispered to his neighbor, "Did they just refuse?" "Impossible," his companion whispered back. "No one refuses. But humanity had. And in 90,000 cycles of galactic history, that changed everything. The silence. 3 months later, Earth, Geneva. Secretary-General Maria Santos stood before the UN Security Council in a room that felt too small for what they were about to do. The recall is complete, Admiral Zhao reported from the main screen. Every human vessel outside the Sol system has returned or is en route. We've consolidated our defense perimeter to Jupiter's orbit. Nothing gets in or out without our knowledge. Economic status? Santos asked. Finance Minister Okoye pulled up charts. Council sanctions hit exactly as predicted. 47 trade agreements dissolved overnight. Access to 3 major shipping lanes revoked. Banking protocols with Council-aligned systems terminated. She paused. We're losing approximately 14% of our interstellar GDP. Silence around the table. However, Okoye continued with a slight smile, the Jarek Confederation, the Nimri Collective, and 18 independent systems have quietly approached us through back channels. They're calling them cultural exchange programs and research partnerships to avoid council scrutiny. Real trade, just, unofficial. Underground economy, Ambassador Chen said from her seat. She'd been back on Earth for 6 weeks and still looked exhausted. They're afraid of the council, but they're also curious. Maybe even hopeful. Hopeful about what? Asked the Russian delegate. That someone finally said no. Santos stood, walking to the window. Geneva looked the same as always, peaceful, ordered, oblivious to the cosmic chess game playing out above their heads. We need to be clear about what we've done, she said quietly. We've isolated ourselves from the largest power structure in known space. We're betting everything on the idea that independence is worth the cost. With respect, Madam Secretary, Chen replied, we're betting that we're not the only ones who want independence. The Council has ruled for 90,000 years by making submission seem inevitable. We just proved it isn't. Galactic Council Station, the same day. High Arbiter Velshan reviewed the intelligence reports with growing unease. The humans have fortified their system, his security chief reported. Advanced defensive satellites, weapons platforms, fleet positioning that suggests, military doctrine we don't recognize. They're primitives, Velshan snapped. 3 centuries of space travel. We have empires older than their entire civilization. Yes, Arbiter. But. The security chief hesitated. They're advancing rapidly. Their technological development curve is steeper than any species on record. And they're not advancing randomly, every innovation has military or defensive applications. Velshan's mandibles clicked in irritation. Then we increase sanctions. Cut them off completely. We've tried. The problem is. Another hesitation. Sir, 17 systems have reduced their compliance scores this quarter. Nothing dramatic, delayed reports, minor trade irregularities, slower military response times. But all 17 are systems that have some contact with human proxy groups. Coincidence? Perhaps. But the Jarek openly cited humanity's courage in their recent independence poetry. The Nimri have started teaching human history in their universities, without council approval. These are small things, but they're acts of defiance. Velshan finished the thought. He stood, pacing his chamber. The council has maintained order through inevitability. Every species learns the same lesson, resistance is futile, submission is survival. The humans are teaching a different lesson. What do we do? Velshan stared at the star map showing Earth's location, a small, insignificant system on the galactic rim. We wait, he said finally. They'll struggle. They'll suffer. They'll come crawling back within a cycle, begging to accept the accord. They always do. But even as he said it, Velshan felt the first tendrils of doubt. Earth, 6 months after the walkout. The message came through encrypted channels, bounced through 17 relay systems to obscure its origin. Chen read it twice, then called Santos immediately. "We have a visitor request," she said without preamble. "The Jarek want to send an official delegation. Not for trade talks. Not for cultural exchange." "Then what?" Chen's voice held barely suppressed excitement. "They want to ask us how we did it. How we said no. And" she paused, "how they can do the same." Santos was quiet for a long moment. "This is what we hoped for," she finally said. "And what we feared. If we help them, the Council will see it as an act of war. If we don't help them, we're no better than the Council, hoarding freedom instead of sharing it." "Arrange the meeting," Santos decided. Quietly. Very quietly. "But arrange it." Chen smiled. "Already done. They arrive next week." After she hung up, Santos returned to the window. Somewhere up there, in the vast darkness between stars, humanity had lit a very small fire. But fire spreads. The underground. 1 year after the walkout, classified location, lunar far side. The Jarek delegation materialized in the concealed hangar looking nervous. Their leader, Speaker Kivren, had 6 eyes that kept darting to every shadow, every corner. Fear radiated from their entire delegation. "You're safe here," Chen assured them, gesturing to the conference room carved into lunar rock. "The Council has no surveillance this deep. We've made sure of it." "Safe," Kivren repeated the word like testing its weight. "We have not felt safe in 4 generations. Not since we signed the accord." Around the table sat representatives from 8 species, all here in secret, all risking everything just to attend this meeting. The Nimari. The Tok Val. The Shireen. Species Chen had never heard of 6 months ago, now bound together by shared desperation. "You asked us how we said no," Chen began. "The truth is simple, we decided our freedom was worth more than their approval. But I think you already know that. What you're really asking is, how do we survive what comes after?" Heads nodded around the table. A Nimari named Veska spoke up, translator rendering her whistling language into precise English. "The Council controls everything. Trade routes. Banking systems. Military protection from raiders and hostile powers. Even our education, they tell us what history to teach our children. When you walked away from the entire structure of galactic civilization. We built a new structure," Admiral Zhao said, pulling up a holographic display. "It started small. Secret trade agreements. Encrypted communication networks. Mutual defense pacts that exist nowhere in official records. We call it the Fringe Network." The display showed a web of connections spreading across the galactic rim, thin lines at first, growing thicker, more complex. "Every species here is part of it now," Zhao continued. "You're trading with each other through our systems. Sharing technology through our encrypted databases. Your ships use our navigation protocols to avoid Council patrol routes. You built a shadow economy," Kivren breathed. "In 1 year. We had help," Chen said quietly. "From every species in this room. You've been feeding us information, sharing resources, taking risks. The network isn't human, it's all of ours. We just provided the spark." A Tok Val representative, Gresher, leaned forward, his massive frame making the human-sized chair creak. "The Council doesn't know." "They know something is happening," Zhao admitted. "Compliance is dropping across 73 systems. Trade volume through official channels is down 11%. They're investigating, but..." He smiled, "They're looking for a conspiracy. Some organized rebellion. They're not seeing the truth. Which is that the rebellion isn't organized. It's organic. Species are simply choosing to interact outside Council oversight whenever possible. Small choices, repeated millions of times. The Council built a system that requires total compliance. We're proving that partial compliance is enough to survive, and preferable to submission. Vesca's bioluminescent skin flickered with emotion. But they will respond. The Council has crushed rebellions before. They have massive fleets, ancient weapons, political power beyond imagining. They have all of that, Chen agreed. But they have a weakness too, they believe their own mythology. For 90,000 years, they've taught the galaxy that resistance is impossible. They've built their entire power structure on that belief. They can't imagine anyone actually walking away and surviving. She stood, walking around the table. That's their blindness. They're waiting for us to fail, to collapse, to come begging. They're not preparing for the possibility that we'll succeed. And while they wait, we build. Kivrin's 6 eyes finally stopped darting. What do you need from us? Keep doing what you're doing. Trade with each other. Share technology. Communicate through encrypted channels. Make small choices for independence every day. And when the Council demands explanations, tell them the truth, you're not rebelling. You're just choosing differently. Death by 1,000 cuts, Gresha rumbled with something like satisfaction. More like freedom by 1,000 choices, Chen corrected. The Council thinks power flows from their authority. We're proving that real power flows from voluntary cooperation. They rule through force. We're building something based on mutual benefit. Silence around the table as the implications sank in. There will be a reckoning, Vesca said finally. Eventually, they'll have to act. Yes, Admiral Zhao agreed. Which is why we need to be ready. Not for conquest, we're not trying to replace the Council. But for defense. For survival. For the right to exist outside their system. Galactic Council Station, the same week. 73 systems, High Arbiter Velshan repeated, staring at the report. 73 systems showing decreased compliance in the same quarter. And you're telling me this is coincidence? His intelligence director, a Vremnos named Kelthara, shifted uncomfortably. We've investigated. There's no central coordination. No rebel fleet. No organized political movement. It's just entropy. Species being lazy with their reporting, prioritizing local trade over approved channels, minor bureaucratic delays. Bureaucracies don't suddenly become lazy across 73 systems simultaneously. Sir, with respect, perhaps they do. Perhaps after 90,000 years, some systems are simply tired of the paperwork. Velshan wanted to believe it. The alternative was terrifying, that something fundamental had shifted, that the galaxy's acceptance of Council authority was eroding not through violent revolution but through quiet defection. Double patrols on trade routes, he ordered. Increase compliance audits. And find out what the humans are doing. They've been silent for a year. Too silent. Should we attempt contact? No. Velshan's mandibles clicked firmly. We maintain sanctions. We show the galaxy that defiance has consequences. The humans will break eventually. They must. But Kelthara noticed what Velshan did not, the High Arbiter's hands were trembling. Earth, the same night. Santos reviewed the report from the lunar meeting, then made a secure call to Chen. How did it go? Better than expected. They're not just interested anymore, they're committed. The network is growing exponentially. And when the Council figures out what we're really doing? Chen was quiet for a moment. Then we find out if our quiet revolution can withstand their loud response. Santos nodded slowly. Keep building. Quietly. Carefully. But keep building. After the call ended, Santos looked up at the stars through her office window. Somewhere up there, the most powerful civilization in galactic history was beginning to realize that silence could be more dangerous than any weapon. And humanity had taught the galaxy to be very, very quiet.